We're live!
Yay, we're
Yay!
live. Hi, Susie. Hi,
Hi,
May.
hi,
Hi,
Susie!
Maureen. Hi, May.
Oh,
Hi. Welcome, everybody. We're having a chat today with Susie about her upcoming class for Start the Conversation, Talk to the Animals. And I'm really excited about this. There are so many things that my little Charlie cat wants to be involved in this class. But one of the questions that I'd like to ask you today, Susie, and I'm sure it's something that you might get asked quite a lot, and it's very much about how are you with your animals when you have been away for quite a while? Because I know you've just been away, and somebody else has been looking after your animals, and you'll come home, and then so there's that meeting space, isn't there, where who are you? You're changed. The animals will have changed, and it's finding that that hello time again, and that relationship again, and so how does that work for you?
Yeah, it's been really a long practicing session for me, to be honest, because when I first started having animals and traveling a lot, I had no clue what was required, and my cat was always acting weird when I came back. And the general idea that people have is that, well, yeah, animal was pissed, so now it's hiding. And so I bought that hook, line, and sinker, and I thought my animal was mad at me for having been gone. And I, for years, had this thing where I would come home, my cat would be hiding for days. She would gradually come out, and then I would leave again because my job, I travel so much with Access. I would literally only be home sometimes for 4 or 5 days before getting back on the road. And so I would see my cat for like 2 out of those 5 days, and that didn't work for me, So one day I was like, okay, Baba, this has to change. What is going on here? I really need to, for my sake, I want to change this. And she was like, well, I don't know who you are when you come home. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm still me. No, I don't know who you are. And she really gave me that sense of like she had to reacquaint herself with me, and it took her a few days. She's kind of like a bit more, or she was a bit more of a shy cat. She wasn't really outgoing towards people. So she would just be like reserved, and I was like, you don't know who I am. So how do I change this? Like, what do I have to do to actually not have you go through this? And she said, stay in touch with me. And so I realized she gave me also the information that whenever I was leaving, to her, I was gone. I was completely out of her world. Like she couldn't really stay in touch with me. And I realized that was my doing also because, I, of course, just like everybody else, you go away and you feel bad because you're leaving your animals behind and the poor animals. And yes, you do the best you can to leave them in the best care person that you can. But still, you have this weird guilt going on. Well, with this really strange and like guilt kind of conversation, um, you actually shut off your energy towards the animal. And so I realized that I was basically contracting myself away from Baba. And I thought, okay, this has to change. So I literally thought to myself, okay, what do I do here? So I put Baba as my screensaver on my phone. And then instead of just glancing at her, I literally would just sit there and look at the screen and connect with her and make a real effort, right? So I would sit there and go, okay, Baba, let me take a couple breaths here. Let me expand out. Okay, I'm going to connect with you right now. Where in the house are you? Are you outside? Are you asleep? Are you awake? Are you walking around? What are you doing? Are you eating? So I would really just ask some questions and ask, like, really those questions, like, where are you? What are you doing? And then I would make an effort to include her in my space. So I would pull her energy. And it sounds crazy, but it's really that easy to. You can just pull the energy from the animal towards you. Just pull. And it's amazing how that works. You can be on the other side of the globe, and all of a sudden there's an energetic connection. and you can perceive the animal, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, hi, there you are. Oh, you feel good to me, like you feel like you're happy. Okay, cool. And then let also a flow of energy go from you to the animal. So I practiced that every day, several times a day. Every time I looked at that phone and I had a moment, I would do that. And the next time I came home from that trip where I basically did all this practice, and I practiced and I had to practice. It wasn't just coming with ease. It was a thing I had to practice. When I came home, she was sitting on the stoop waiting for me.
Wow.
She had never been there before. She was always hiding. So this was a big, big change. And that's when I busted open this whole myth about our animals are mad at us. They're not mad at us. They just are like confused because you don't stay connected with them. And they're like, I don't know where you went. And so from their point of view, it could have been also like, did you die? You know, because I don't know you anymore. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Is that the experience that you were explaining about Bubba was what I had with my last cat? That when I would come back, she would run up to me like to say, "Oh my God, you are still," like you just say, "Oh, you're still alive," and then just turn her back. That's it. I'm not speaking to you now, and it would be days.
Yeah.
But Charlie Cat is completely different.
Maybe you're different.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. He has a completely different energy. He's more like a dog.
Mm-hmm.
He is like a dog in a cat suit. As soon as I'm home, he's all over me. Oh, I love you. And he follows me around like a shadow. And maybe that's because he's trying to tell me that he's worried I'm just going to disappear again. I don't know. Yeah, no, I have to ask that question now. Wow.
Yeah, and how much are you really allowing yourself to stay connected, even if you just go shopping or you go to work in the morning or, you leave the house, and to me, this exercise now has become something that I don't have to practice it anymore. I'm being that energy and I make an effort to stay connected with my animals. And so when I do come home now, they're always happy to see me. Nobody is acting weird. Everybody is just right there and present, because I never left them.
And is it the same for all of the animals, the horses, the dogs, and the cats?
So even extending onto that, any pet that we have got, we can use this exercise with. So It's not just talk to the animals. It's not just about horses, cats, and dogs.
No.
No. There's more to it than that.
Exactly, because...
Will you expand a little bit on that, please?
Yeah, because so honestly, you live with so many animals even in your surrounding, and they will notice too when you're leaving. Like the birds that are around, like you might not know how much animals are actually aware of you until you start really looking around you and recognizing too that there are certain animals that keep showing up around you, and we just are not really in tune with them so much because we think, oh, it's a bird. Well, but if you actually maybe pay attention, you might notice, oh, it's the same bird I saw yesterday. And you might see it because, it has like a ruffled feather hanging out, and you're like, oh, I saw that ruffled feathered one yesterday too. Oh, and there it is again today. And oh, there it is again. So you might notice that the birds that are showing up in your yard are the same birds. And they know you too, and I have many birds now that have gotten so used to me like filling the feeders that they don't even fly away very far. Like I literally sometimes now have birds sitting like, a half a meter away from me. It's just sitting on the branch going, are you filling my feeder already? Like I'm waiting, so they can also lose their fear once they realize, I'm not doing anything to them. I'm just basically providing them with some resources and they're happy about that. So they're like, oh, she's cool, and so, it's really everything that lives with you because you can even communicate with the spiders and the flies in your house, and you can let them know, like, hey, look, I really don't enjoy living with you guys. So whenever I see you, I will throw you outside. And once a week, I will come around with the vacuum. So if you insist on coming back into my house, you will be vacuumed, for example. You can give them that information. And you might see that you have less spiders in your house. Or I have a friend who loves spiders. Guess what happens? He has the weirdest spiders come into his house. Even like in Costa Rica, he had a tarantula walking into his house. Well, okay, cool. But he loves to interact with spiders. So other people may never see these critters, and he's like, oh my God, look what's in my house.
Yeah, it's interesting. Go on, May, you go.
Maureen,
You go. No, you go.
I love that energy. So in the Talk to the Animals class, how is that energy somehow communicated through? And this upcoming class that in October is live, so it's streamlined. How does it work? How will it work? Because I'm sort of sad, and I'm sat here, and I know energy is our first language, and it's beautiful. But for those who maybe have not been working so much with the animals and would love to sort of have a communication with their pets and the birds and everything that's there, how is it going to work?
Yeah. So we're going to have 4 days together where we're going to be online together. So there is time to practice, which I love about this particular class, is that we have 3 hours together every day. And in those 3 hours, we will pretty much work with the pets that are available. And the funny thing is, they will always show up when they're ready. I have seen so many cats come up and like push themselves right in front of the camera and be like, my turn, and if we would ignore them and we would just go on with class, they would literally just walk away and wouldn't show up for 3 more days. It was so interesting to me. I have learned also so much facilitating these classes over the years that, hey, if an animal shows up, I will never ignore it anymore, because it's like some of them literally have showed me, hey, this was my time, and now I'm gone. I'm not coming back. And again, not from spite, but from really recognizing to basically like, hey, you know what? We are here with our energy, and now is the time to do something. And how often do we ignore that, right? Like, even if you have a chore and then all of a sudden, like, you have that chore sitting there, and you think about it, and then you think about it, and then you keep ignoring it because it's not due yet. And then 3 days later, you're like, oh, I still have to do this. And it becomes really difficult. Whereas if you had actually done it the moment it was basically in your awareness, it would have maybe been really easy and done with. And I know we've all had these moments. And so with the animal communication, the timing of that can also be very imperative, because when the animal is ready, it's like, hey, I'm here now, and here's the energy, and now it's being presented. The one thing that I do want to say is, this is with the tools of Access Consciousness, and this specialty, Talk to the Animals, is very different from any communication class that you have ever taken with animals, if you have. And the reason behind that is also because I have taken many of these classes in my life, and I was always wrong. Why? Because I don't actually communicate in images. And every animal communicator will tell you animals communicate with images. Well, I don't get images. So now I'm, because,
Yeah,
I can hear it.
I really like that. When you say that now, I just realized when I communicate with an animal, I hear a voice.
There you go.
In the rest of my world, I see a lot of images, and I require a lot of images. But when I communicate with animals, I actually don't see images. I
There you
have
go.
never thought about that before.
Yeah. And
I
see,
have always felt like I couldn't communicate with animals.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
interesting. Yeah, I have to say I'm the same, but I didn't realize that animals only communicated in images. That doesn't seem. I mean, there must be what communication must include way more than just images. You
Correct.
know what from what I'm learning from Charlie Cat. You know, he might send an image. I'm definitely not getting it, but I do really get a sense more and more of, you know, what
Yep.
he's saying to me at any given time. And yeah, for me, it's just a voice as well. That is really interesting. That's good to know. So how do these people actually know that those animals only see in images? How would they know that?
Well, because the thing is, most animal communicators that are very much out there, they do it with imagery. And basically, it comes to them in imagery and they send imagery to the animals, and that's how they communicate. Now, like I said, when I started taking these classes and I couldn't do it, I made myself so wrong that I even disregarded anything that I was perceiving because, you know, in the class, there was always some animals we were supposed to talk to. But what I also wasn't willing to recognize is that oftentimes when I would go to the class, let's say you get there in the morning off, right? And I would walk around and I would meet the animals. Well, I got a lot of information before the class had even started, but I didn't actually allow myself to truly have it as information. It was just there. And so then the animal communicator would guide us through a meditation, which I personally suck at, have the hardest time like being present in a meditation because apparently I function really on the fast track. And so meditation doesn't work because I keep having to pull myself back to something that I've already passed like 6 times. And not to make meditation wrong, but and it's not about that. It's just for some people, the steps don't work. And if everybody is trying to do certain steps to get somewhere and it doesn't work for some people, then they think they're wrong and they can't do it. But that wasn't actually the case. I could do it, but I made myself wrong because I was not getting it in the way that they were telling me that I should. So, and this is not about making any of this wrong, because for a lot of people, this works beautifully. And it actually is a beautiful way to do it if you can. But that's why in this class, we're not really looking at the how to. We just take out of the way everything that you have decided about yourself that doesn't allow you to receive the communication, because I cannot tell you personally how you will receive this information because everybody is different. So I'm not going to try and tell you how. It's more like, let's take everything else out of the way that is basically a barrier to you receiving that information. And then also taking away your doubts. You know, is it really, did I receive information? Was this correct? Was this, was this that? You know, and the animals will also help. And that's the beauty about this. You know, I have seen it so many times that the animals will give us instant feedback in these classes. They will literally have our backs and literally, please go to my YouTube channel. There's this one beautiful little clip where this lady in a class was basically having an emotional moment and was saying that she recognized that in her life, nobody ever really had her back. And that's why, you know, there was some stuff going on. And really in that moment, when she started to talk about this, you can see her dog in the background laying on its bed, getting up, walking up to her. She doesn't know it because she's talking, jumping and putting her paws on her back, literally on her back.
Wow.
And I mean, this kind of stuff to me is just incredible because it also shows me she wasn't communicating in images at that moment. She was telling a story, but she was so authentic in it energetically that the dog knew what was going on energetically. And it was like, I have your back. And it's
Wow.
not literal, you know, but it's like, yeah, I got your back.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That gives
So
me
it's
goosebumps.
yeah,
It's
me
just
too.
like
Yeah.
that energy of what is possible, so beyond the communication with the words, and just looking at an animal and wondering, what are you saying? I don't get you. I don't know what you mean. Oh, what would you, and all this guesswork, and actually sort of have that space and create that space in our world that we can communicate with the animals. We do know what they require, and they can let us know what they would like from us and what they do require from us.
Yeah.
And I think for me that the way that you were explaining that, it's not so much about us trying to communicate. It's more about how willing are we to receive, how willing, like May said, to just be a space and actually learn how we receive it. And like you were saying, some people may receive it in pictures, some people will receive it in words, some people may not have any words because they're just receiving it as a complete energy download. And I love that the class is from that space because, like you say, nobody needs to feel wrong because they communicate slightly differently if they're just willing to receive from the animals. Yeah,
Totally.
I love that. Yeah.
Totally.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. And thankfully, in Access Consciousness, we have tools to change your reality, meaning that if you have a point of view, you can't do something, we have the tools to actually change this for good. Access has some incredible ways to change the energy through the clearing statement that we can use. And for anybody who's not familiar with that, please go to the website of either accessconsciousness.com or theclearingstatement.com, which really gives you the information on basically this energy that Gary Douglas and Dr. Dain Heer have been working it for over 20 years, that is allowing any kind of energetic blockage to be freed up and changed if you're willing. It's not brainwashing, but if you would like to change something in your life, you can with these tools. And that's also why this is different, because also animals can be stuck somewhere. I have met several animals that had a lifetime in which they had some bad experience. And so they brought that energy into this lifetime with a conclusion, basically, I will never trust anybody who wears a hat, or I will never trust anyone who reaches out towards me. Those things can occur. And the tools can also help here. The clearings can help that animal to get over that fear, to get over that behavior. And I've seen animals change within an hour that have not been able to change in years of training and trying and doing all this stuff. Because, even if you just love an animal all the time, if they have some weird thing stuck as a point of view, all the loving will make it better, but it will never, or sometimes it won't go away, and so please know there are tools that can change that. And I've seen it happen so many times that I know it works, and the animals don't have to understand English. It doesn't matter because it's all based on the energy. And that's the beauty of it. Like, it really can make a huge difference.
Wow, I've just learned something new already, and we haven't even started the class because I wasn't aware we could use the tools actually on the animals where they've got things. So that's so exciting. That's really massive. Yeah. Wow. Look how much I've learned, and we haven't even started the class yet.
Yay.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. Shall we just give some details of the class? And I don't know if you've got to hand the different time zones of where it will be happening. So I know it's
yeah. I just kind of also want to say generally and generically, if you go on to talktotheanimals.com, there are several facilitators of this particular specialty of Access Consciousness that offer classes around the world. You don't have to take this class with me, but of course you can if you want to. Our class starts next week. It's online. It is actually in the morning here in the US of A, which means it's in the afternoon in Europe, 3 hours each day for 4 days in a row. Your animals are welcome. Any animals are welcome. We have literally had people take the camera to the horse stable and we worked with their horse live. So there is no limitation. If you want to sit in a zoo and talk to an elephant while we're in class, by all means, please do. I have no point of view about how you want to create this class for yourself. But the fun thing is too, you don't have to have an animal to come to class. Please don't see that as a limitation, because this is not just about talking to animals. It's really about receiving more energetically from everything around you. And I've had many, many people that said, oh, wow, since the Talk to the Animals class, I have more ease with my children. Wow. Okay, cool.
Wow.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to be aware, this is not just about animals, even though, yes, it's called that. But again, experience has showed over the years that it goes beyond that quite a bit.
Yeah. And are there any prerequisites? Anybody can just come to this class, can't they? Don't have to have done anything, any other work at all. Just come with their questions. Yeah.
Come on in and enjoy. I would recommend, if you are brand new and you've never heard of this, please check out Access Consciousness a little bit. Maybe listen to the clearingstatement.com, just so you get a sense. Are these tools for you? Are you willing to change your life? Some people get scared because it works really fast, and some people can't stand it when change comes fast. This is the fast track for change. So if that is intriguing, please join us. If you're somebody who's scared of fast track, then my question is, who does this belong to? Maybe it's not yours. Maybe it's something you bought from your parents. Is it really you who's afraid of fast track, or did you buy this from someone? Because we've all learned in this reality, let's take it slow. Let's think about it a few times. Make your pro and con list. Don't ever follow the energy of like, yes, I want to do this. No. Make a list first. No, I'm kidding, guys. Please. Honestly, there's so many things out there that we've been told in our lifetime that are actually not true, that don't even apply to us. So the more you're willing to actually really listen to energy around you, the easier your life will become. So I just really want to invite you to play with these tools, even if you never come to class. Please check it out. If you're intrigued at all, please check it out.
And can I also ask, when you're talking about the fast track, I'm sort of assuming that the animals are always on the fast track because they have no point of view about where they're coming from. So, the only thing that's slowing it all down is us.
Yeah. And like I said, an animal can make some kind of decision that might limit them too, from an experience they have. And so we can be helpful to them too when they're stuck. They can get stuck too in some emotional trauma. And we can help them actually let go of that and move forward. I would say, like, for example, if a wild animal ever got stuck in some kind of trauma, they most likely are not going to survive for very long, and so that's maybe why when we're really looking out into the wild, I don't see a lot of energetic limitations on those animals out there, because I think when an animal is being unaware of its surroundings, it most likely will fall prey. But the animals that are living with us, they have the privilege of protection. They have the privilege of us taking care of them, finding food for them, fending for them. And so if an animal there has some emotional baggage, it still has a chance to live and live with us. And sometimes I wonder too, how much emotional baggage is it that we are basically giving to them,
Yeah. Well,
that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, it was interesting. Is that, us as humans, I think we're pretty used to the idea that, you know, we come back and we come back and we come back as many times as we choose to do that. And I wonder how many people actually have thought about the animals coming back and choosing different kinds of lives, and how they find their human sometimes, you know, irrespective of whether the human actually thinks they want to be found, you know.
Right.
And that's a really, really
Yes.
interesting thing as well. Yeah.
That is a very interesting thing. And we talk, by the way, all of the things that we have just basically touched on, we do talk about in class. And the beauty of the class is, yes, you do have a manual, and there are some tools that you will get in a manual, but also the class is really open to anybody's questions. There are no questions that will be banned from class. So whatever discussion and conversation is available, we'll have it. And some of it maybe not so pleasant, because also there's a lot going on with animal abuse and all of that kind of stuff. And it usually always comes up also in class. So we will literally talk about anything that comes up.
Brilliant.
I'm just looking in the comments, and there's some in Spanish. Now, I think there is a question around translation, and
Yeah.
there's some other comments about, well, I don't speak Spanish, so
Yeah.
I can't actually read it.
Yeah. Basically, the classes are available in other languages as well. Also, I am often willing to translate. So if there are people interested, I can have a translator come on and we can offer the class in other languages as well. But there are also Spanish-speaking Talk to the Animals facilitators out there that offer classes. So we also have someone in Japan. So there are some other languages available. It doesn't have to be just English. And I personally also do this class in German occasionally. So yes, and that should never stop anybody. Please ask, you know, and if you understand enough English, Stephanie, please ask for translation. You can always email to language@susiegodsey.com and we can sort it out. So thank you.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this class. I'm really excited about it. It'll be the first animal class of any kind that I've been involved in.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
So is there anything else that you want to add, Susie?
Well, to me, I would just love for everybody to really open up a bit more to the possibility that we can actually have more connection and communication with animals. And that doesn't mean anything. I know that a lot of people always go into this conclusion that, oh, if I open the door to loving animals more, I have to stop eating meat because otherwise I'm not an animal lover. So we come to a lot of conclusions about when we're looking at something that we now have to make a massive change in our world. But what if you don't have to? You can if you want to, but you don't have to. So what if it didn't mean anything for now to just have a greater connection to animals in the world? And even if you are eating animals, wouldn't you desire for them to have more quality of life and a better way of dying than they currently do? Wouldn't that be in your interest as well? So that's why the more of us that are willing to actually be in more communication and have more of that in our worlds, then maybe we can also create some change. What change would you like to see in the world that is currently not occurring? And maybe you can be part of that change by changing something for yourself. So it doesn't have to be this class, just a little inspiration of what else is possible if we're all willing to receive more.
Yeah.
I love that. So this class is not, it's so much more than talk to the animals, talk to your pet, talk to yeah, it's so much more than that.
Yep.
And I am so excited as to what we can actually create together in these
Me
4
too.
days.
Me too.
It's, yeah, just super, super excited.
I
Yes.
would have liked to have put the link to the class in the chat here, but I can't actually, I don't see how to actually do that. But it
Yes.
would be great if we could put the link for the class in there. And for those of you who have been on live with us, welcome. It's so nice to have you here. Yeah, if you'd like to join us next week, that would be fabulous. And for everybody that's watching us after the live, there will be links for the class. And yeah, we really welcome anybody along to the class. It'll be absolutely fabulous to have lots of you here with your animals, or just ask, do your animals want you to be here? I know my Charlie cat keeps saying he knows it's coming up, and every now and again he says, is that class here yet? Is that class here yet? So yeah, I'm really grateful that we're having this class, Susie. Really grateful for you, for the tools that you have with the animals, and yeah, absolutely
Thank you.
brilliant.
Yay. Yes, I am really excited for this class. And like Maureen said, we will put the class link in the comments. But even right now, if you go to talktotheanimals.com, all the classes that are upcoming will be there. So you can find that class. This is an online class. Next week it starts. So that's the one that we're talking about. And again, talktotheanimals.com. You will also find some other classes, maybe live in your region, if you would prefer that.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So,
May, have you anything else to add before we close?
I am speechless. So I am all good. I am happy. I am looking forward to seeing anybody who would like to join us. And yeah, very happy.
yes.
Brilliant. So if anybody has any questions, they can email Susie or myself or May, or like Susie says, just go to the talktotheanimals.com and you can jump on and register for the class. Brilliant.
Thank
Yay.
you, ladies.
Yeah, thank you, Susie.
Thank everyone
Thank
for
you.
watching. Thanks for being
Brilliant.
here.
And see you all in class, hopefully. That would be lovely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What else is possible?
Absolutely. What else is possible? Brilliant.
All
Thank
right,
you.
everyone.
Bye now.
Bye.